Bartolomeo? Dragon? That guy from Barry is Ipponmatsu? Dude, I think the One Piece live action did it again. What's up, guys? So I just wanted to jump on and talk about the first episode of the new season of One Piece. I guess, like, light spoiler warning. I'll try to avoid going too much into anything from the canon down the line. Like, nothing crazy, but I'm definitely going to talk about some of the things that they did here and some of the ways that ties into the story up to pretty much the current stuff. So, if you don't want any spoilers outside of the live action, maybe, go read 1,000 chapters of the manga and come back. So, the first episode starts out in Shell's Town. This is the town where Luffy originally met Zoro, where they had him like tied up to that pole. There's some Marines fighting against what is at first an unseen enemy, and it's pretty brutal, dude. Like they're depicting this like it's like real life war. Eventually, we see it's Baroque Works fighting the Marines. We see Miss Valentine and Mr. Five are just like, I don't know, being general menaces. They depict them as some pretty bad guys. They're like pretty evil, dude. The episode starts out focusing on this like scared lady Marine, and she ends up just getting her head stomped by Miss Valentine. Like they kind of put you in this character's shoes so you like sympathize with her, and then she just gets her head stomped in. It's pretty crazy. We get our first look at Miss All Sunday, and dude, she's great. We really didn't get a lot of like lines from her in any of the promotional material, but so far I love this performance. I think she's fantastic. Her voice sounds great. It's got this like kind of depth to it. She's kind of like intimidating, and her costume looks fantastic. It looks incredible. It looks great. Perfect. Spot on. Love it. She walks into this hallway, which is definitely a shot we've seen from the trailers and stuff. I will say one maybe light criticism I have, not that it's really a big deal at all, but we've seen a lot of the stuff in this first episode already in promotional material. But it's fine, I guess there was still plenty of new stuff, and also getting a lot of this stuff out of the way now means that everything that comes after this will all be new, so... Or, for the most part. So Robin walks into the hallway with the Marines, and she says, "Quite a lot of arms you have." But it's funny, dude. I see what you did there, Miss All Sunday. And in this scene, dude, they play Miss All Sunday's power pretty scary. Like, this whole scene is kind of like shot like a horror movie. And Miss All Sunday is the monster. She's got some extreme aura while she just strolls past these dudes, doesn't even care about them. They got all the arms popping out of them all over the place. There's the flower petals in the air. It looks great. Some of these arms are definitely practical. Like, they just had people, I don't know, hide somewhere on set and then just, like, stick their actual real arms out to grab people. It's pretty cool. For some reason, I didn't even think about them doing that. I just assumed this would all be CGI. And I think a lot of it is, but, Yeah, we see what I'm pretty sure were some real arms grab a gun that the one Marine points at Miss All Sunday. And I'm just like, yeah, that's smart. I just didn't even think about them using actual people's arms. So she makes the one Marine guy shoot the other Marine, and she asks him where they keep their dead. And then the next thing we know, we see Mr. Seven's body. Well, like half of Mr. Seven's body. And this is the guy that Zoro cut in half in the first season. At least I'm pretty sure he did. There was a scene with that, right? I don't think they actually showed that ever in the anime or manga. Like, it was definitely alluded to that Zoro killed Mr. Seven. But I'm pretty sure in the first season they showed him, like, straight up cut this dude in half. So these Baroque Works agents are apparently here for him. Mr. Five makes a joke that this cut in half Mr. Seven is more like Mr. Three and a half. That was a stone cold joke, dude. Like, weren't you guys friends or something? Or coworkers? They say apparently Zoro turned down an invitation to join Baroque Works, which I say apparently, but I'm pretty sure that's actually exactly what happened in the scene with Mr. Seven when he cut him in half. I think he was maybe there to recruit him, right? So yeah, apparently they're here looking for Zoro. I guess they're sort of like following in the Straw Hat's tracks, like one step behind him. Miss All Sunday finds out that he's a pirate now instead of a pirate hunter, and she sees Luffy's new bounty poster. So she's like, all right, there's our guy. There's some banter between Usopp and Sanji on the Mary that I actually thought was pretty funny. I've watched a couple of Taz Skylar's YouTube videos recently. They're kind of interesting. That dude's like kind of a nut, just going around the world doing crazy stuff all the time. But he's like pretty, cool in real life. And it had been a while since I watched the live action, but I started getting worried that he was like gonna just make Sanji too cool. I mean, Sanji is pretty cool, but he's also like kind of dorky, Especially when it comes to like cooking and women. But I actually really like this scene. I think Taz Skylar plays Sanji like just silly enough here. Him and Usopp are like arguing about Usopp using all the pepper for his pepper stars. Outside, Usopp and Nami and Sanji are all talking about going to Loguetown. Usopp doesn't want to do it because he's just scared of everything. And I think Jacob Romero, Usopp's actor, is super funny here. I don't know if I just, again, don't remember the first season that well, or if he's just being funnier here, but I was genuinely laughing at a lot of the stuff he does. Nami mentions the calm belt, and he says, like, he shouldn't mess with the Sea Kings because they got beef because he's killed so many of them. It's just funny, I don't know. And just, like, the way that he acts in general. Like, he just carries himself and behaves in a funny way. This whole scene here about going to Loguetown is another thing that we've seen, or at least I've seen in promo material. They kind of released like a preview with this scene in it. At this point, I was kind of like, I feel like I've seen a lot of this. But it's alright. Like I said, there's plenty of new stuff, and they're getting a lot of it out of the way. Luffy comes down off the figurehead of the Mary, and he just like immediately reaches for a plate that Sanji's holding. I thought that was really funny. He's like an animal. And Sanji just kind of like pulls it away from him. So anyway, they decide ultimately to go to Loguetown. They pronounce it Loguetown. I don't know really which one's right, but I probably might say Loguetown a lot. I think the idea is like that it's supposed to be like the entrance to the Grand Line, so it's like the beginning and the end. So it's like the prologue and the epilogue. So Loguetown. It's not a prologue, but whatever. I've seen a lot of people online really love this comment that Nami makes when she says, "You thought we were gonna skip Loguetown." I guess that was like a meta comment about the show skipping Loguetown. I don't know. It's fine, I guess. I'm not a huge, like, I don't really love meta stuff like that, to be honest. But it didn't bother me. Right before the One Piece live action, like, theme kicks in, there's a rendition of We Are from the anime. Like, the first anime intro. And, like, again, did I just forget that they had this in the first season? Or is this new? Because I thought it was awesome. I mean, either way, it's great. I love it. I love that they did that. So the next thing we see is Garp walking up to a prison cell with Roger inside. This is a flashback. And I immediately recognize this as looking exactly like the scene, I think it comes around during Impel Down, where they show this flashback. And I remember this as being a scene where Roger asks Garp to watch after his son for him, who I guess I'll leave unnamed for now. So I was immediately like, wait, is this gonna be that scene? Like, are they just gonna bring this up right now? And yes, they do. Like, I'm pretty sure if this is an Impel Down, that's like, what, 400 or 500 episodes into the anime or something that they reveal this? But I personally don't have any problem with them bringing it up now. Especially considering, like, you know, who knows how far they're actually going to be able to get with this live-action version. So some of the stuff that they would have otherwise revealed later on down the road, you might as well just throw it in now, who cares? Also, I kind of love just, like, the basic idea, right, that, like, when you're adapting something that has a lot more of the material completed, you know, One Piece has already been going for 30 years. When you tell the early parts of the story, you can incorporate all of these elements that didn't come up until much later. Many of which probably weren't even thought of until much later. But it allows you to kind of plant a bunch of seeds early on, which I think is really cool. And I think they do a couple of these here that I think are all pretty smart. Like, I don't think I had a problem with any of the stuff they added in early here. So, I watch a lot of Tekking 101. Shout out Tekking. Hopefully I'm not, like, regurgitating stuff I've heard from him too much. I mean, he's kind of the GOAT of One Piece YouTube, in my opinion. And I think I actually heard in one of his videos him mention that apparently the actor for Garp had said that he wanted to play Garp, like, a little bit more silly in the future compared to how he played him in season 1. Like, you know, just a little bit goofier how he is in the anime and the manga. And Tekking mentioned, and I agree with him, that the tone of the first season, as far as what Garp was going through, was pretty serious, so it's fair that he wasn't goofy there. But this scene with Roger, he gets a line in where he says that, like, his favorite thing about chasing after Roger was beating the piss out of him. And I really got a kick out of that. I thought he was pretty funny there. I feel like maybe this is kind of a glimpse of a slightly more lighthearted Garp. Roger kind of goes into like a coughing fit, and Garp makes this like pretty serious face and looks over at him. I mean, I'm not 100% sure what this was meant to mean, but to me it sort of felt like Garp can tell that this man is sick and dying, and that like bringing him in was not really the victory that the Marines want to believe it was. Like, this dude is, for one, not in his prime, and for two, seems to maybe have just accepted his death. And I think Garp kind of knows that this guy let himself get captured. There's sort of a theme in this episode of people not realizing that the execution of Roger was going to lead to the beginning of the Great Pirate Era. And to me, it just kind of feels like this is Garp kind of starting to maybe suspect that. Like, he's like, is this dude, like, is he one step ahead of us right now? Did he let himself get captured? Kind of seems like he's dying. So yeah, like I said, this does turn into the scene where Roger tells Garp about his son. Uh, hmm. There's a little exchange here where Garp says, I ushered you to the gallows, and Roger says, I trust you won't do the same to my son. Okay. Alright. Yeah, I hope not. As Garp's leaving the cell, Roger says, piracy isn't over, and Garp says, yes it is. And, okay, cue the Great Pirate Era. So, back to the modern day, in the Straw Hats, we see them walking into Loguetown, and this kind of town center thing here looks awesome. I love this. And there's so many little Easter eggs. I'm definitely gonna have to go back and rewatch this. You can tell that just like every little thing put in here is on purpose. One thing that I noticed that I think, like I mentioned, I watch a lot of teching. I think maybe he pointed this out in a video now that I think of it. But I noticed on one of the buildings, kind of right in the center, it says Man-Mare, which, you know, I don't want to spoil anything from the manga or the anime, but this name ties in to like pretty deep into the modern story. And it's like a tiny little Easter egg they really didn't need to do, but it makes sense and I really like it. If you know what I'm talking about, I don't know, maybe you can let me know if you agree, if you like that. Like I said, I'm not really going to go into too much detail about what it's referring to, but it's definitely from the story and I think it's cool. They look at this little plaque in the center of Loguetown. It says it's the beginning and the end, like I said, like the prologue and the epilogue. It's got the little world government logo on the plaque, which, I don't know, I guess that's kind of interesting. I don't know. Like I said, there's so much specific stuff around. Like, I feel like I got to go back and look at a lot of these extras because their costumes and designs are so specific. There's this guy with coat hanger hair. I'm pretty sure, like, is that somebody? His name's Hanger. He's a real guy. I don't know if he was in the manga or just maybe just the anime, I think. No, yeah, I think he was in the manga. So yeah, it's just like a random side character. But I bet you a lot of these side characters that you see, or like extras, are probably based on real extras in the show or the manga. They say they're celebrating Marine Victory Day, which is apparently like the anniversary of the execution of Roger, which is kind of bleak. There are these little posters for the hero of the Marines, and they've got this little icon of Garp's like dog hat, which I thought was pretty cool, but also definitely propaganda and bullshit. Nami's like, I guess, giving out allowances to the crew, but charging them significant interest. There's a pretty funny moment where Zoro says, I need money too. And he goes, the cook got money. I was laughing, dude. I thought this was all funny. Yeah, Nami puts a 300% interest on them. She does not play around, dude. She makes some kind of comment about, like, wishing she wasn't the only girl on the crew. So, foreshadowing. They show a quick shot of somebody from behind, and at first I was like, who's a creep in the old lady blanket? He's got, like, one of those shawl things over his head. Looks like it's, like, knitted. But all of a sudden I was like, wait a second. Green cloak creeping in the background at Loguetown? I know who this is. Dude, we see Smoker ripping on the SMOG HOG out of the ocean, like just right up onto the land. He was dragging a pirate, like on a line behind the hog, like a fish. I mentioned this in at least one of my trailer reactions, but dude, I don't know. Smoker's wig, I feel like they could have done something to this to just make it look a little bit more like, I don't know, not like a wig. But it's really, to me, it's a nitpick. It doesn't bother me that much. The way that Smoker is frustrated with Tashigi just sort of being MIA is like so real to me and very funny. He comes off like he's like a boss who's just frustrated with like a scatterbrained employee. In town, we see Nami and Usopp looking around at some stalls shopping. Nami tears down one of their wanted posters. Pretty funny. And then, dude, holy shit, Bartolomeo? Did I know he was in this? Gonna be in this? I think maybe I did. Like, I think maybe I heard about casting, but I think I completely forgot because I was not expecting this. But as we know from the anime and the manga, Bartolomeo was here for this. He was canonically at Loguetown for all of this stuff. They just didn't show him at the time, I don't think. In fact, I don't think he even existed at the time. But again, like I said, we know now he was there. Chuck him in, why not? The, like, I don't know, makeup prosthetic thing they got going on for Bartolomeo is a little bit strange. He's kind of got like a giant forehead, but I guess maybe he has that in the anime. I don't know. I like him. He was pretty good. I feel like sometimes when I watch a show and I get an introduction to a character and I'm a little bit thrown by the performance that the actor is giving, sometimes I think to myself, this scene that we're getting as an intro to the character, this is not the scene that they used to audition this actor. There's some other scene, some other thing that this character is going to have to do that this actor is going to nail. And that's why they casted this guy. Not necessarily for how he's going to act in this first couple minutes. So I'm pretty excited to see Bartolomeo going forward. Usopp says he needs a disguise, and for a second I was like, dude, Sniper King? But then I was like, oh wait, that's a different guy. He walks into one of the stalls, and you see a lady is wearing, like, the classic Usopp goggles. So you know he's about to get those. So yeah, Usopp gets the goggles. Nami starts kind of, like, giving this little speech to Usopp, and I was kind of wondering what she was getting at. But then I was like, oh wait, she's, like, telling him to, I don't know, go call Kaya or something? I'm pretty sure in the anime and the manga, Usopp kind of just says, like, peace out to Kaya, and then he doesn't really see her again. I mean, she keeps up with, like, what's going on with him, I guess, to the extent that she can. But I'm pretty sure, like, communication abilities for your average person in the anime and stuff are pretty limited. I don't think people really ever just go and grab a Den Mushi and call home. Also, the Den Mushi looks pretty crazy. The snail, it's like moving around. I don't know if it's animatronic or what. It's kind of spooky and weird, but it's cool, man. So yeah, Usopp does call up Kaya, and I don't know. I guess he leaves a message. He doesn't actually talk to her. We see Zoro, and he bumps into someone, and I just immediately knew this was going to be Tashigi, just off, like, the clumsiness. Just like in the anime, Zoro's, like, shook by this, like, as if he thinks this literally is Kuina, which, like, obviously it's not Kuina. I still, to this day, don't fully get what this is all about. Like, I understand that she looks like Kuina or reminds him of Kuina, but, like, they, like, really focus on it, and it shows, like, Zoro's, like, really shook by it. I don't know. Zoro gets so defensive when Tashigi says that he's lost. He's like, I'm not lost. Yeah, he's definitely lost. Then we get to see Ipponmatsu. And dude, immediately this character was dead on. The way he's just like digging in his ear. Also, it's the guy from Barry? This feels like an inside joke or like a reference to me because I'm currently working on another video where I have talked about this guy. That video is just not done yet. So I guess this is going to be kind of like a reverse inside joke where I'm going to refer to my own joke and then you'll hear it later on when that video comes out. But yeah, this guy from Barry, James Hiroyuki Liao, plays Ipponmatsu, and he nails him, dude. I actually looked this guy up really quick, and I have just kind of been referring to him as the guy from Barry, but apparently he went to Juilliard, so maybe I should like be putting some respect on his name. He's also good in everything I've seen him in. But yeah, I just thought he was a great Ipponmatsu. He's like very funny and just nails the character. He's also a terrible negotiator. He just keeps going up in price when Zoro like barely reacts to the offers that he gives him. He wants to buy Zoro's sword, which he's definitely not going to sell him anyway. All of a sudden, Tashigi comes in and she just really blows up Ipponmatsu's spot. She's like, oh my god, this sword's worth like tens of millions of berries. Ipponmatsu's like, okay, dude, sick, thank you for that. They really made Tashigi, like, I kind of feel like extra nerdy here, which is fine. I mean, that's what the character's like, but I feel like they dialed it up, and I think it works. So Zoro finds the Sandai Kitetsu and I guess like the bargain bin. Tashigi's like scared of it. She says it's the third in a lineage, which, yeah, the Sandai, Ichi, San, 3. Ipponmatsu says he doesn't want to sell the sword because he's worried like even just selling it to someone will get himself cursed. And we get just a classic scene from the anime. Zoro says, what's stronger, my will or the sword's curse? And he just throws it up in the air, sticks his arm out, and it just slips right past his arm, leaves him completely unharmed, and then sticks like really far into the floor. This thing goes like halfway down into the floor just off of like the weight of gravity. So I guess, I don't know if that was the curse or this thing's just super sharp or what. But yeah, they just nailed this scene. It was awesome. Back outside in the market, we see Sanji and Luffy are walking around. They talk to this fish seller who I guess is a fish man, but he's got like a fish head with like a fish tail sticking off the back of his head. It's like Sandy's Halloween costume. Stick a fishbowl on this guy's head. Sanji points out this elephant tuna, which looks pretty cool, man. He hears from the fish seller that the Baratie bought all their fish, and that they're cooking a dish that Sanji created. And obviously Sanji is super salty about this. He doesn't like that at all. He sees that as theft. But I really like the, like, aloofness of Luffy, because he just goes, oh yeah, sounds like Zeph liked it. Like, it feels like Sanji's like, stole my recipe. You know what this means, don't you? And Luffy's like, oh yeah, I know. He must have really liked it. He's just so, like, innocent and funny. He's also kind of, like, Charlie-coded, like Charlie from Always Sunny. The way he kind of acts like he knows what people are talking about, but he never knows what they're talking about. We see Usopp's telling a bunch of tall tales in this, like, voice message to Kaya. There's actually a pretty nice moment where he, like, admits to being nervous, which I feel like is sort of, like, an earnestness and honestness from Usopp that we really don't see a lot, or maybe at all, in the anime and manga. Like, maybe as a part of an internal dialogue, like, we hear his own thoughts and he's scared, but But I don't know that he really ever admits it to people like this. Not in like this kind of a vulnerable way anyway. I mean, he says he's scared all the time, but I don't know, it just feels like I said, kind of a vulnerability that's unusual, but I like it. It feels very real. But he also says he's the captain of the ship, which, classic Usopp. Nami bumps into Bartolomeo and she like pickpockets him, I guess, takes his wallet. And then they kind of have like a weird like charged exchange. I don't know. I thought she was gonna like rob him again, but she already robbed him, I think. I'm not really sure. Nami remarks that there was an air pressure change, like a change in the weather. And I'm like, so is this the live action just confirming something that we've been wondering forever? There's a weather phenomenon occurring right now. So perhaps events that we'll see later are caused by whatever or whomever is causing this pressure change. I mean, I know Oda's involved with this. He would probably have a say in what they're allowed to say here. This feels a lot more specific than anything we heard in the show, so I don't know. That might be kind of a reveal. So we go back to Ipponmatsu's. He went and got another sword for Zoro because he's just like so impressed by him. He gives him the Yubashiri. He says it's a skillful grade, which is like in the manga they're called Ryo Wazamono. But yeah, it's all pretty much straight out of the canon. He pretty much asked Zoro for forgiveness because he's like, it's been so long since I've seen like a real one like this. Back outside, Luffy's just walking around asking random people where the execution platform is, where they executed Gold Roger. He asks this guy who's like a street performer singing, and he just like yells at the guy while the guy just keeps singing. It's pretty funny. And then Luffy bumps into Bartolomeo. And again, I think this is new, but dude, if the Bartolomeo I know from the anime ran into Luffy, yeah, dude would never bathe again. Wouldn't want to wash off the little bit of greatness that rubbed off on him. Yeah, they play Bartolomeo pretty goofy here. He calls Luffy Mark to his face because he wants to rob him. He's like doesn't feel very serious. So Barto takes Luffy to the platform, and dude, I don't know, man. I don't know what they could have done to make this better, but this background when Luffy's on the platform just feels so much like a green screen. Again, to me, it's really a nitpick. It doesn't bother me that much. It's like, I get it. He's there. It's fine. I can suspend my disbelief. I know he's not really in Loguetown. This isn't a real place. So, it's fine, but it does kind of look like a green screen. When Luffy like walks out to look at the platform, all the other sounds cut out. Like it's just Luffy and the platform. Luffy and the spirit of Gold Roger. And I thought this was pretty cool. It was a cool moment. So Buggy shows up. And Luffy calls him Bunny. And dude, the banter between Luffy and Buggy is hilarious. They're so good together. These actors play off each other great. They're just super funny. Buggy's like, you know my name. Buggy goes to make fun of Bartolomeo, and then he's like, actually, you know what? This dude seems awesome. I like this guy. He just likes the cut of his jib. Buggy says something about shit moths. I'm like, is this a Trailer Park Boys reference? Buggy watched Trailer Park Boys? They got Canada in this universe? So I guess Buggy just like knew that Luffy would come here to see the platform. So he just kind of like waited for him to get here, I guess. Luffy remembers Alvida's name, and Buggy's like, her name, you remember? He's funny, man. He's really good. So we see Alvida ate the slip fruit, so Luffy's punch just like slips right off her. I think there's been plenty of talk about how the actor for Alvida, I guess, like lost a lot of weight in real life to be able to like play this character. Not that the weight loss was really necessarily that important to the character. I mean, this happens in the manga. But, like, it doesn't necessarily need to. Like, she could get a devil fruit power that gives her the slip power without it making her skinny. It's not that important. But apparently the actor did do that, so cool. Good for her, I don't think I really need to say any more about it. She uses this slip tracks ability where she's just sliding all around the place, and it looks a little silly to me. But she whips out her club, and that looks awesome. So, it kind of makes up for it. Next thing, Luffy is, like, all woozy, like he was drugged. At first I thought he was drugged. And then Buggy says it's because of the sea stone cuffs they put on him, which I thought was really, really cool. Sea stone is a real canon thing, and it works like pretty much how they portray it here. It saps out devil fruit users' power just like seawater does. But the way they made it look like he's like barely hanging on to consciousness, I don't know, dude, I thought it was really cool. Like it makes it a lot clearer to the viewer like what this feels like for them, because I don't know what it feels like to have a devil fruit power, let alone to have one sucked out of me. So yeah, I love that. This one Marine goes, Captain Smoker. I kind of love how all the Marines are just like British, bunch of proper little douchebags. A little girl runs into Smoker with some very prop like ice cream, I think. Smoker gives her money for new ice cream. I think, again, this is straight out of the manga, but it's a nice moment. Smoker's a good guy, you know, at least he wants to be. Tashigi shows up, and like I said, he's just fed up with her. Zoro returns Nami's money because he didn't have to spend any, because Ipponmatsu gave him the swords for free. She still wants interest, though, dude. Oh, classic Nami. Usopp's really funny again. He's like super suspicious of how Zoro got these swords without paying for them. Now that we see Sanji carrying the elephant tuna all wrapped up, all of a sudden it kind of like came back to me. I was like, wait, this is definitely from the anime as well. Him carrying around the tuna the whole time. I'm pretty sure that's from the canon. It's also a really funny moment where Sanji's like stoked about this fish and he just completely forgot about Luffy. He's like, I was not letting this thing out of my sight. And they're like, and Luffy? What about Luffy? And he's like, oh, right, yeah. I got this fish, though. Zoro's, like, kind of really pissed at Sanji. I thought this was kind of nice. I kind of wasn't sure if it was more about him not really liking Sanji or about him kind of being protective about Luffy because he cares about him. Either way, though, I liked it. Luffy's got a strip of duct tape over his mouth, and I was like, they got duct tape in this universe? I don't know. I mean, of all the things that could pull me out, I wouldn't expect it to be duct tape, but for some reason it felt like really out of place to me. Like, I don't know. I don't know what. I guess I could have like used a piece of rope or something. But the duct tape just seemed odd, like a level of manufacturing that they just don't really see in this world. Alvida makes a comment about Luffy kidnapping her precious Kobe, and they show Bardo's reaction. He's like, I don't know if that was actually Bartolomeo reacting to what she was saying, but thought it was hilarious. Buggy's got a judge wig on, which is funny. He says he's Luffy's lawyer, and it's just like, dude, you know that he's just gonna be like, yep, guilty. He's guilty. I kill him. There's a bunch of like unhinged Buggy pirate clowns in the jury stands. Buggy's two right-hand man guys look awesome too. I think they were probably both in the first season. There's the guy with the like furry vest and the rabbit ears, and then the other guy with the throwing knives and the little like green and white stripe thingy. They look great. Be cool if we could get the lion, but you know, whatever. Maybe later. The rest of the Straw Hats show up, and I was like, uh-oh, time to throw down. Let's go. And yeah, it's pretty much on site. Nami's really throwing down like 1v1 with Alvida. It's pretty cool. But she just like bounces off her because I guess she's all slippery. The one like buggy guy I was talking about with the green and white thing challenges Zoro for like a, you know, rematch, I guess. And Zoro just cooks this dude. It's like no problem. There's a little bit of like Sanji music that plays when they first show him like kicking some dudes. I thought that was awesome. Again, yeah, Nami 1v1ing Alvida is sick, dude. I thought it looked really cool. She's got like her climb attack, I think, just kind of whacking her with it. Nami and Usopp have this like little moment where they just kind of like telepathically formulate a plan on the spot. And there's this really like weird, cool shot where Nami like uses her climb attack to kick Alvida's shoes out from under her feet. It's like really strange. Like just literally just like a Jenga block. Just like whacks them out and just boom, the whole thing drops. The whole thing being Alvida. Yeah, it was always like weird and cool, I thought. But then Usopp shoots a pepper star at her. Nami like sticks her climb attack up to break the pepper star right in front of Alvida's face. And she sneezes, and I guess because of her slip fruit power, she just like kind of goes flying, sliding on her bare feet. We see Smoker's watching all this, and he's just like, let the pirates tear each other apart. I mean, yeah, smart. Work smarter, not harder. Tashigi's face, dude, she's like, she sees Zoro, and she's like, he's a pirate. Like, she's like so betrayed by this. Like, okay, I'm sorry. This random guy you met for 5 minutes on the street is a pirate. So, I mentioned before, I mean, I guess it's fair, but the green screen background of the execution platform looks really like a green screen. So Luffy gives his little declaration up there. Buggy's got him up on the platform ready to execute him. There's kind of some mixed reactions from the crowd. I love this one Marine that's just like, nah, no, he will not become king of the pirates. Buggy says to Luffy, you don't know the first thing about being king. And, you know, I don't know, spoiler alert, I guess, but Buggy kind of knows what he's talking about here, which I think is pretty cool. Makes it an interesting line. I don't really remember how much they've gone into detail about Buggy's backstory, so I'm not going to really say any more than that. There's like a little 3D clown skull, like Jolly Roger, on Buggy's hat that I think looks really, really cool. Like he's got like a little 3D nose on him. It's awesome. Yeah, Nami is just generally much more formidable here, I think, than in the anime and manga, which I think is good. I think that's smart. Even in the like current day of the manga, Nami's kind of lagging behind. Bartolomeo like yelps from a chest closing, like it just makes a sound and it scares him. Like I said, this guy's like not really a serious person. Luffy calls out to his crew, I'm dead, you know, classic. I will say though, I kind of like don't love like the direction here. I kind of found myself, at least in the moment, wishing that this was played like a little bit more nonchalant. Like just Luffy just, well, I'm dead. But it's like kind of like intense, and Luffy's got like tears welling up in his eyes, it looks like, and he just starts like laughing maniacally. You know, it's one interpretation of the scene, I guess. All of a sudden, Buggy gets struck by lightning as if God himself intervened on Luffy's execution, and he like explodes into pieces. I was like, yo, that's hilarious. I guess because he's got the chop chop fruit, he could just like break apart into a bunch of little parts, so it's like not, he's fine. So they can just have him like explode into meat. It was funny, dude. And like kind of like, it was kind of crazy. So this is the thing I mentioned earlier when Nami talked about the change in the weather. Did we get some more confirmation as to what that was? I don't know. You tell me. Maybe let me know in the comments what you think about that. Luffy's hat just kind of gently floats down. Bartolomeo picks it up and gives it to him. The hat's like spotless while Luffy's covered in like soot. And Barto's shook, dude. He's already shook by what he just saw. Luffy, dude, is so casual. I loved this. He just goes, oh, lucky me, and just starts to walk away. Fantastic. Great. Perfect. That's the nonchalant I was talking about. He's just, dude, he's just going with it. Just whatever happens, he's cool with it. You know, hope for the best, but if you die, you die. You know, what can I do? I got lucky. Good thing I didn't die, you know, that would have kind of sucked. So the Straw Hats just bail. There's this really funny moment where Usopp just starts grabbing up stuff on his way out. He grabs Sanji's fish. He goes, Sanji would kill me if I left this. Dude, Usopp's hilarious. Was Jacob Romero this funny the first season? I was just really tickled by this performance. Jacob Romero, shout out. Great job. Fantastic. It kind of reminds me of what I was saying earlier about maybe Garp's actor saying he wanted to be a little bit sillier. Maybe they just weren't as sure how this would be received. So they like maybe played it a little more serious down the middle for the first season. But man, I love that they're kind of like being a little bit sillier here. A little goofier, you know? At least Usopp. Man, I'm loving them. Did somebody say ba-da-ba-ba-ba? Because I love Usopp. Sanji has this line where he says Nami doesn't get lost. And I kind of really like that because, like, one, Sanji just loves her, so he's going to simp for her and say that she's perfect in every way. But also, he's kind of right. Like, she's their navigator. She ain't getting lost. Tashigi pulls up on Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy, and Zoro just tells the other two to move along while he handles Tashigi. She says she knows who he is, and he says, if you know who I am, then you know you don't want to do this. Dude, Zoro. I kind of love that, at least at this point in the story, him and Luffy kind of just destroy anybody who steps in their path. Like, I mean, yeah, they'll get humbled eventually, but for now, dude, it's pretty awesome to just watch them be like, dog, you don't want this. You don't want the smoke. Tashigi. Smoker. So Zoro fights Tashigi with one sword and one arm. Like, his other arm's just kind of like hanging loose by his side. And Tashigi just gets whooped. Zoro, like, pins her to a wall. He, like, sticks his sword through her coat to the wall. She's kind of, like, trying to tear him down now that she lost. It's like, dude, you challenged him to a fight. Now you're going to talk all this shit? What are you doing? She calls him a brute. You challenged him to a fight. She asks him, why won't you kill me? And I was kind of like, why would he kill you? Like, oh, okay. So she kind of thinks Zoro's, like, a real piece of shit. And just because he's a pirate? I mean, pirates aren't, like, good guys, but it doesn't make him like a serial killer, marine murderer. He was a pirate hunter before this. We hear somebody go, Monkey D. Luffy. And I was like, uh-oh, Smoker's here. So he squares up with Sanji and Luffy. Sanji's like, I got this. So he runs over and kicks, like, Smoker through the head, but he just turns into Smoker and doesn't do anything. He tells Luffy that he's got a devil fruit, obviously. Luffy's like, oh, I don't care. And I'm like, yeah, you probably should care. You do not know what you're getting yourself into here. It bears mentioning, I'm pretty sure they've never seen a Logia fruit in their life. So, like, they don't even know what this is. Like, turning into smoke is a level of devil fruit power that these people have not seen. Smoker's just blowing huge clouds off these two cigars he's got in his mouth. It's awesome. Luffy throws a Gum Gum Gatling at him, a bunch of rapid fire punches, and he just stands there drinking them. Like, just doesn't even bother to dodge. He doesn't have to. Luffy kind of, like, wipes his hands off, like he got something gross on him from the smoke, which I thought was a funny little detail. Like, it left some kind of, like, I don't know, grime on there. It probably would. Smoker fucking rocket punches Sanji, dude, through a building. It was very intense. Like, that was a hell of a punch. They packed some force into that thing. It looked really good. Smoker just calls them small fries. He ain't even scared of them, dude. They're definitely building up Smoker to be pretty scary, dude. Smoker turns around a little bit, and we get a little glimpse of his weapon, which looks perfect. He starts shooting off like a bunch of tendrils of smoke from his arms. They're just like filling this little courtyard. He grabs Luffy's arms and just like yeets him around a little bit in the air. It's like stretching him out because he's rubber. The smoke looks great. Like, it looks really real to me. I don't even know how they did this, but it looks awesome. I mean, obviously, like, the way that it's moving around in tendrils doesn't look like something that would happen in real life, but the actual smoke itself looks pretty real to me. So yeah, he like yeets Luffy, and then he just rips over to him, like he teleports through the smoke, like turns into a cloud of smoke and just rips over to Luffy, gets on top of him. Looked awesome. I thought that was super cool. So he goes to draw his weapon, and we get, dun dun dun, an appearance of a mysterious man. The man in the old lady shawl. I mean the green cloak. The guy we saw lurking earlier. He just grabs Smoker's arm with one hand and restrains him. So this guy can obviously touch Smoker. He didn't just turn into smoke when he grabbed him. And he doesn't look like he's struggling that hard to hold on to his arm. And then they kind of just disappear. They just peace out, like in a cloud of smoke. Dude just came and scooped Smoker up and left Luffy and Sanji there. So Sanji's like, he's fine. He helps Luffy up. They make it back to the ship. Sanji asks who that guy was, and Luffy says he has no idea. Okay. We see the guy, and he's talking about Luffy. He says, a pirate, eh? That's fine if that's what you have chosen. So this guy's looking after Luffy, whoever this is, and he approves of his decisions, interestingly. Like I said, I'm not going to go into spoilers. I know who this is. If you're at all interested to find out, I mean, for one, keep watching the live action. I'm sure it'll come back eventually. But there's plenty more about this character in the anime and manga. If you ever want to jump in, live action viewers, check it out. And dude, we get... I said I'm not doing spoilers, but I'm naming this next character. They showed SABO. SABO was here. He had his hat. He was SABO. What the hell? I am tempted to say that I love this. Again, why bother postponing it? Bring him in now. 100%, dude. They really only showed him for like a split second, and I haven't gone back to look yet, but it seemed like it was a full-on shot of his face, so I'm guessing whoever this is actually casted as SABO, which, you know, obviously there goes my chance to play SABO, but that's fine, you know. I'm sure this guy will do fine with it. Imagine me as SABO out there. I just refuse to shave my mustache, make him CGI it off like Superman. We see a little scene where Tashigi's sitting at a bar talking to Miss All Sunday. And Miss All Sunday is like trying to recruit Tashigi too. Was Baroque Works desperate? They're going around trying to recruit everybody. What's that about? Miss All Sunday leaves and Smoker shows up. He knows the bartender by name already, and the guy's got his drink ready for him, which I thought was kind of an interesting detail. Smoker says this was like a Gold Roger bar, like he hung out here, but that it's like kind of lost a lot of popularity since he was executed. He says they all kind of thought it would go the same way with everything about Gold Roger. He says, kill the man, kill the legend, or so we thought. Like I said earlier on, this is kind of that recurring theme of people not realizing that executing Roger was actually going to create a much bigger pirate problem. Well, at least bigger in scale. Way more pirates. So Smoker's kind of like a continuation of that idea. And I think this kind of is positioning him as sort of like Luffy's Garp. What Garp was to Roger, Smoker maybe is or will be to Luffy. Or at least he'd like to be. Because then Smoker says he saw Roger's execution, and when they executed him, he laughed. He says, I dedicated my life to making sure the world never sees another Gold Roger, and that just like Roger, Luffy laughed. He says, Straw Hat Luffy looked death in the face, and he laughed. And he says, that's what we're fighting against. So like I said, kind of like Luffy's Garp. He sees this dude, and he's like, this guy is trouble. This Luffy is bad news, dude. You see that shit? They tried to execute me. Smile. That dude's a psycho. I don't know. I don't like that. Scary. Smoker also says the clown spilled the beans. So Buggy told Smoker that Luffy's headed to the Grand Line, so they know where to follow him. We see Bartolomeo again, and we get this kind of incredible little scene where he looks at Luffy's wanted poster with his big old smile. And then he turns and he looks at like a dingy, cracked mirror. And Bardo looks at himself in this little mirror and he smiles. A big ol' Luffy smile. And I love that, dude. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great. Kind of really cute, too. Bardo just wants to be just like Luffy. This man just changed the entire trajectory of this other man's life. Back on the Merry, they've already set sail and Reverse Mountain is in sight. Luffy says, Grand Line, here we come. And that's the end of the episode. And dude, I thought it was awesome. It was great. Really fun. I'm stoked for the rest of these episodes. In fact, I probably won't make a super long outro here because I want to go watch some more of them. Actually, it's a really beautiful day out, so I think I might go outside first, but then we'll get back to some more One Piece. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought. Did you like the episode? What was your favorite moment? Maybe least favorite moment? What about the characters? Who was your favorite out of the new cast? Did you guys like Bartolomeo? I can't wait to see more of him. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for me. That's episode 1. They dropped all these episodes all at one time, so I don't know. That makes it a little harder to like do reviews of them, but let me know if you want to see me talk about some more of these episodes. I think I'd be down to do it. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. I'm gonna go enjoy this lovely day. I hope you liked the video. Oh, like and subscribe if you liked it. Appreciate that. Let me know what you thought about the new season of One Piece. And yeah, as always, guys, we'll see you in the next one.